Everyone's obsessed with manifesting your future and claiming your season. Vision boards, declarations, affirmations about the life you deserve. But here's what changed everything for me. John 4:34 says Jesus' food was to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work, not to manifest his desires, not to claim his season, but to do God's will. Last fall, I did a prolonged fast, and God taught me something I'd completely missed. Our sustenance comes from the spiritual work we do, not the physical comfort we seek. Today, I'm showing you why your post-divorce season isn't punishment, it's preparation, and why God is your husband right now, adorning you with praise and giving you everything you deserve. Hey friend, welcome to Beyond Believing. I am Katie Ann, a certified life coach and a woman of God called to walk alongside divorced Christian women rebuilding their lives with Him. This is our final episode in the Abiding in the Lord series. We've talked about making your heart at home in God's love and guarding what you participate in. Today, I'm talking about why this season is preparation, not punishment, and how to receive God as your husband now. Because God isn't asking you to wait for life to start. He's preparing your heart for what He's already planned. If you're ready to stop viewing singleness as lack and start receiving it as God's provision, Selah Healing has limited spots. Details at coachkatieann.com/call. Let's dive in. Today I'm showing you 3 things. First, what fasting taught me about preparation and why humbling yourself before God is how He prepares you for what's next. Second, what Romans 5 reveals about standing in God's grace with alert expectancy, not passive waiting. And third, why Proverbs 31 isn't just for married women. God is your husband, adorning you with praise right now. By the end of this episode, you will understand why receiving God as your husband changes everything. Let me tell you what I hear constantly. 2 versions of the same lie. The chaser says, when I'm in a relationship, then I'll feel complete. When someone chooses me, then I'll feel worthy. When I'm married again, then my life will really start. You're scrolling dating apps late at night, analyzing every interaction with that guy from church, wondering if this next coffee date could be the one. Believing that your healing, wholeness, purpose, all of it is on hold until someone puts a ring on your finger. Your identity is wrapped up in when someone chooses you. The cutoff says, I don't need a relationship. I'm complete on my own. Marriage isn't for me anymore. I'm past that. I'm focused on me and my kids, and that's enough. You've convinced yourself you don't want partnership. You've made independence your identity. You've equated needing no one with strength. But underneath, you're terrified. Terrified that wanting love again makes you weak. Terrified that hoping for companionship means you haven't healed. Terrified that if you admit you desire partnership, you're somehow failing at being a strong single woman. But here's what I know. Both women are missing this truth. Your life isn't on hold, and God isn't asking you to wait. The chaser is waiting for a man to complete what only God can. The cutoff is refusing what God designed her for because a man failed her. Both are making their singleness about men, either the absence of one or the refusal of one. But what if this season has nothing to do with men at all? What if God is your husband right now and you're rejecting the very relationship that would fill everything you're craving or protecting yourself from? So let me show you the first thing that transformed how I see this season. Point number 1, the fast and preparation. Last September, I was at a crossroads. Major decisions about my future, my business, my kids, my calling, and I decided to fast, like Ezra, who proclaimed a fast to humble ourselves before God and seek a safe passage. I decided I would just fast until I received clarity or felt truly surrendered to His will. It took me 21 days to get there, but here's what God taught me through John 4:31-34. The disciples urged Jesus, Rabbi, eat something. But He said, I have food to eat that you know nothing about. My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. His food is doing God's will, not physical comfort, not external validation, spiritual obedience. And I realized I'd been seeking sustenance from everything except what actually fed me. The chaser seeks sustenance from male attention, the text, the like, the invitation, from romantic possibility, the what if of every new connection, being chosen, measuring her worth by who pursues her, by future hope, the belief that life starts when partnership begins. Every time she gets a crumb of attention, she's temporarily fed, but then starving again. The cutoff seeks sustenance from achievement, the promotion, the accolade, the accomplishment, from self-sufficiency, the pride of doing it all myself, from control, the security of needing no one, from busyness, the distraction from what she's actually hungry for. And every time she accomplishes something, she's temporarily fed, but then she's starving again. But Jesus said, my food is doing God's will, not achieving, not being chosen, obedience. My fast taught me our sustenance truly comes from the spiritual work we do. And post-divorce, God's not starving you. He's feeding you. How? Through identity work, seeing who he says you are. Through spiritual growth, developing intimacy with him. Through character development, becoming who he designed you to be. Through heart preparation, readying you for what he has next. This season is preparation. Because here's what I know. The sooner you receive it as such, the sooner you'll stop starving and start being fed. In Selah Healing, this is one of the shifts we make. Learning to be fed by God's will instead of starved by the world's validation. Because until you understand where true sustenance comes from, you will keep seeking it in places that leave you empty. Which brings me to the second thing, which is point number 2, Romans 5 and standing in grace. The Message version of Romans 5, 1 through 5 says, by entering through faith into what God has always wanted to do for us, we find ourselves standing where we always hoped we might stand, out in the wide open spaces of God's grace and glory, standing tall and shouting our praise. Read that again. We find ourselves standing where we always hoped we might stand. If you're the chaser, you're already there. Not when you remarry, not when someone chooses you. Now, if you're the cutoff, you're already there. Not when you achieve enough to feel secure. Not when you prove you don't need anyone. Now. And it continues by saying, we continue to shout our praise even when we're hemmed in with troubles, because we know how troubles can develop passionate patience in us, and how that patience in turn forges the tempered steel of virtue, keeping us alert for whatever God will do next. Alert for whatever God will do next, not passive waiting, alert expectancy. So what's the difference? Passive waiting is the chaser looks like putting life on hold until circumstances change, believing purpose arrives when partnership does, measuring progress by relationship status, scrolling, seeking, hoping someone notices. Passive waiting as the cutoff looks like convincing herself she doesn't want what she's actually hungry for, building a life so independent she blocks what God might be preparing, equating singleness with strength and partnership with weakness, refusing to even consider what God might do next. But God calls you to alert expectancy, fully living now while watching for what he's doing, building, growing, investing in this season, recognizing that preparation is process, open hands, ready heart, expectant spirit. And Romans 5 continues, in alert expectancy such as this, we're never left feeling shortchanged. Never left feeling shortchanged. The chaser feels shortchanged because she's measuring her life by who's chosen her. The cutoff feels shortchanged but won't admit it because admitting it feels like failure. But God says, in alert expectancy, you're never shortchanged. And then verse 5, now that we're at our best, just think how our lives will expand and deepen by means of his resurrection life. Now that we have actually received this amazing friendship with God, we are no longer content to simply say it in plodding prose. We sing and shout our praises to God through Jesus the Messiah. You are at your best with God, not despite being single, not when you find someone, right now with him. Here's what this looked like for me during that fast, because I do this work too. I was so focused on what I was afraid of, repeating or recreating everything I had already been through and experienced, or missing an opportunity to create something I always wanted. And in the stillness, God whispered to me, trust in my promises. And I realized I'd been measuring my life by what was missing instead of who was present. God was there. He'd always been there, providing, guiding, sustaining, guarding. And the spiritual work he was doing in me during that season, that was my food. That was what was actually feeding me, not my accomplishments or the future possibilities, the present work. This is what we do in Selah Healing. We help you shift from passive waiting to alert expectancy, from measuring your life by what's missing to recognizing what God's doing right now. Because this season isn't about waiting for something to start. It's about recognizing and receiving what's already here. So here's the third thing, and this is where everything transforms. Point number 3, God is your husband. Proverbs 31:26-31 in the Message says, her children respect and bless her. Her husband joins in with words of praise. Many women have done wonderful things, but you've outclassed them all. Charm can mislead and beauty soon fades. The woman to be admired and praised is the woman who lives in the fear of God. Give her everything she deserves. Adorn her life with praise. Now I need you to hear this very carefully. This passage is not only for married women. And here's why that matters for both archetypes. The chaser reads this and thinks, see, I need a husband to speak words of praise over me. I need someone to give me what I deserve. Until then, I'm incomplete. And she keeps seeking a man to fill a role only God is meant to hold. The cutoff reads this and thinks, well, I don't have a husband, so this doesn't apply to me. I'll just focus on the other parts, being productive, raising my kids, being admired for my strength. And she completely misses that she does have someone to adorn her life with praise. Now listen, just because you don't have a physical husband doesn't mean you're without someone to adorn your life with praise, to give you everything you deserve, to guide you, clothe you in righteousness, speak words of worth over you. On the contrary, God is your husband in this season and every season. Isaiah 54:5 says, for your maker is your husband. The Lord Almighty is his name. He is the one adorning you with praise, not waiting for a man to notice you. He is the one giving you everything you deserve, not achieving until you earn it. He is the one guiding your steps, not controlling everything yourself. He is the one clothing you in righteousness, not performing to prove your worth. He is the one speaking worth over you, not seeking validation from men. If you're the chaser, you're seeking from men what God's already giving you. If you're the cutoff, you're refusing from God what you claim you don't need from anyone. And here's what I know. The sooner you accept this and receive it as truth, the sooner you'll begin to see how it already is. You're not waiting to be chosen because you're already chosen. You're not waiting to be adorned. You're already adorned. You're not waiting for provision. You're already provided for. You're not waiting to be loved. You're already loved. The question is, will you receive it? For the chaser, instead of thinking, I'm incomplete without a husband, my life is on hold until I remarry. For the cutoff, instead of thinking, I don't need anyone, I'm fine on my own, partnership isn't for me anymore. These create suffering because you're viewing singleness as lack or as proof of strength. You're waiting for human love to complete what only God can. You're refusing what God designed for you because a human failed you. You're rejecting what God's already given you. Instead, you can think, God is my husband now. He adorns me, provides for me, and gives me everything I deserve right now. I receive this truth. How can you know that's true? Because Isaiah 54:5 says, your maker is your husband. The Lord Almighty is his name. Psalm 23:1 says, the Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Philippians 4:19 says, my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory. And Hosea 2:19-20 says, I will betroth you to me forever in righteousness and justice, in love and compassion. What happens? The chaser stops seeking from men what God's already providing, and the cutoff stops refusing what God's offering. But both start receiving what's already theirs. And in Selah Healing, this is the transformation that changes everything. Women come to me in one of two places. The chasers come viewing singleness as punishment, believing their life is on hold, waiting for a man to complete them, measuring their worth by who chooses them. And the cutoffs come convinced they don't need anyone, equating independence with strength, refusing to admit they might want partnership, but armored up against the very thing that God designed for them. And through our work together, through learning that God is their husband now, that this season is preparation, not punishment, that they're already standing in God's grace, they discover they're not lacking anything. They're being prepared for everything. The chaser stops waiting for life to start and starts receiving what God's already given. The cutoff stops refusing what she's hungry for and starts admitting what she actually desires. Not because they settle, but because they finally understand preparation is the process and God is the provider. You stop measuring your life by your relationship status, equating singleness with strength and partnership with weakness, waiting for a man to complete you, refusing what God's offering you because a man failed you. And instead, you start standing in God's grace with alert expectancy, being fed by his will instead of starved by the world. Receiving God as your husband right now, recognizing this season as preparation, not punishment. And that's what we do in Selah Healing. If you're done putting your life on hold, or if you're done refusing what you're actually hungry for, book your call at coachkatieann.com/call. This work requires humility to receive what he's already given and faith to believe it's true even when you can't see it yet. But if you're ready, you're ready. Friend, God is your husband right now. In this season, he adorns you with praise. He gives you everything you deserve. He clothes you in his righteousness. For the chaser, stop seeking from men what God's already providing. You're not incomplete. You're being prepared. For the cutoff, stop refusing from God what you claim you don't need. You're not stronger for needing no one. You're designed for partnership with him. 1 year from now, you could be the woman who says, I'm standing in God's grace with alert expectancy, fed by his will. I know who my husband is. Or you could still be waiting for a man to complete you or refusing to admit what you're actually hungry for. The choice is yours. The invitation is extended. The provision is already there. You're not waiting to be chosen because you already are. By the King of Kings, your maker, your husband. Thank you for walking through this Abiding in the Lord series with me. My prayer is that you've learned to make your heart at home in God's love. Guard what you participate in and receive him as your husband right now. Subscribe for more episodes. And if you're ready to stop waiting and start receiving, go to coachkatieann.com/call. Thanks for listening to Beyond Believing. Have a great week, friends.